if you could have done it by yourself, you would have already done it by now, right? If you already had the answers and you could have done it, you would have. So if you are stuck, if you are in this place of like not showing up, procrastinating, complaining about not having money, stuck in the fear-based cycle, you absolutely have the power to change that. But it is going to take some action, and it's going to take you being really brave. But let's go over these 5 things that I think are going to help get you there so that it doesn't feel quite so scary. Welcome to Tried and True with a Dash of Woo, where we're all about mixing tried and true strategies that actually work with the magic of manifestation and the science of programming your unconscious mind so that you walk away feeling integrated, inspired, and aligned. I'm Renee Bowen, certified life and business coach, professional photographer, middle-aged wife, and mom to now 3 grown kids. I've built 2 multiple 6-figure businesses with 0 business training by digging in, learning the methods, and now I'm here to pass them all on to you. From photography and business strategies to energy healing, human design, and the basics of manifestation, we cover it all here. I'm here to help you embrace your multi-passionate brains and lean into the fastest and most efficient ways to reach your goals, whatever they may be. Whether you're a seasoned pro or just starting out, or maybe you're just here for the woo-woo, let's dive in and explore all the exciting ways to take your life, business, and self-improvement to the next level. Thanks for joining me, and get ready to be inspired. Hey, happy Wednesday. Welcome back, guys. Thanks for joining me again here for another episode of Tried and True with a Dash of Woo. I'm your host, Renee Bowen. If you're not familiar with me or this is your first time listening, thank you so much and welcome. I have been a photographer for many, many moons, and I am also a life and business coach. I'm certified in all kind of brain stuff, and I love to geek out on that stuff. So if you are interested in that as well, and you want to talk about how powerful our unconscious minds are, you can always hit me up on Instagram. I also have a channel that I created on Instagram called Tried, True, and Woo Creatives. And so it's not particularly just about this podcast, but it definitely is in alignment with what this podcast is all about. So I'd love to have you join me over there as well. All right, let's get right into this week's episode. It is not going to be a super long one. I know I say that a lot and then it ends up being long, but I'm really going to try and make this bite-sized today, okay? I have been hearing a lot of murmurings and chat in my communities about how you guys don't have enough money right now, right? There's a lot of scarcity floating around. There's a lot of fear. There's a lot of like, oh my God, it's winter. I did not plan for this. And now I don't really have a lot of money, whatever the case may be, right? You might not be charging enough money in general. You might feel like nobody's listening or caring about your content. You might not be posting content, so you can't actually get clients. And maybe that stress is just all consuming. Okay. So I definitely want to dive into this with you guys a little bit and talk about 5 ways, 5 steps that you can call in some money right now. So real quick, I just want you guys to know that I understand that mindset because I have been in that mindset. I have lived it. I was stuck in it for a really long time. And even now, even with all of the tools that I have, I still fall prey to it. Okay. So, and I have some really good daily habits that keep me on track. Again, super geek out on the unconscious. Like I know how to work with my unconscious mind. So even with someone with a lot of knowledge, I just want to like let you guys know that it still happens. Okay. It's not like you're going to reach this level and never have fear about money again, right? There's always going to be something, things that are outside of our control, things that, we don't see coming. We didn't plan for, whatever the case may be. Like you could be checking off all the boxes and doing all the right things, and you could still be having this, stuff pop up and say hello every once in a while. So I get it. I just want you to know, I get it. When my kids were little, and a lot of you guys know this, but I'm married to an actor and a writer director. And when we had our kids, so I had 3 kids under the age of 2. And, we didn't really plan on any of that. We didn't plan to like have any kids. And we started having them a lot sooner than we thought. And then, for the second, we were like, oh, okay, well, let's just go ahead and kind of, get number two out of the way. And then number two turned into three. So I, at that time, had a degree in psychology. I was considering going back to grad school, but then I started having all these kids. I was working as a massage therapist because I had gone to school for that as well. Because again, I wanted to like combine massage therapy, mind body, stuff. I really was already diving into that, even in the mid 90s. And I was working at a spa and I had some of my own private clients, but we were just basically scraping by. And by the time the twins were born, there was an actor strike that year. We just had another one, but there was a strike that year, and we were broke. Like I had food stamps, I was on WIC. So I understand this stress about money. I've never had a consistent long-term paycheck kind of job, right? Even when I was younger, I was waiting tables all through college. After I moved to LA, I was waiting tables and bartending. I mean, if you don't work, you don't get paid. And then I became a massage therapist, same kind of job. I've never had anything that was like super solid. And I don't have a husband who has that either. So I know a lot of you guys do. A lot of you guys at least have, one person in the family who has a stable job. Yeah, my husband has worked consistently his whole life, but it's always been sort of like by the seat of our pants, especially when we had so many kids unplanned. Like my whole life has just been a little bit of craziness. So I want you to know that all the things that I'm about to talk to you today on this podcast, I have used and still use always. And this is how I stay in the light. Basically, this is how I stay out of that fear, because there is absolutely nothing good that comes from that. And yes, our thoughts come and go, but we have to learn. I truly believe that we have to learn how to capture those negative ones and see when they come in and nip them in the bud before they get to this like avalanche of fear and doom and oh my God, because that's where we run into major trouble. Okay. So having a money block or money fear, or whatever you want to call it, is a belief, and it affects your entire being, your entire nervous system. And it's going to show up when you are reaching for something bigger or more than what your belief system, what your nervous system has determined is your level of safety, like what's possible for you. So, for instance, if you are a photographer and you've been charging, your rate, let's just say whatever that rate is, and it's not sustainable and you're not really profitable, but you've been charging that. Let's say you've been making $700 a client. And for a lot of you guys, that's going to seem really high. But for most of you, that's far too low in itself. If you are trying to run a portrait photography business that actually is profitable, that's not enough money. But we'll get to that in a minute. Let's just say $700 is what you're making per client. Okay. So that's what's been happening. That is now sort of ingrained in your nervous system and your being, that is what you do, that is safe. You've kind of gotten to that level. So anything outside of it, if I told you, I really think you should be making a minimum of 2,500 to 4,000 per portrait client, immediately what happens in your nervous system is everything just sort of kind of gets up on end, alert systems go up, maybe you get that weird feeling in your stomach, whatever your body reaction is, that's a sign that's telling you that is beyond your level of safety, and your nervous system does not perceive it as safe. And as you know, your unconscious mind only wants you to be safe and alive. That it's its only job. And so when you start reaching for something more, something bigger, something better, your nervous system is going to jump in and be like, absolutely not. We're not doing that. No. And it's going to do everything in its power to keep you safe. And one of those things is negative thoughts, old patterns, fear-based things about money. Oh my gosh, if we do that, we're going to die. We're going to be on this street. What are you, crazy? All of those things. So we are going to talk about these 5 steps to harnessing that and shifting that, because all of that is keeping you stuck. It's keeping you safe. And there's nothing really awesome that happens in safety. There just isn't. If you were drawn to this life, I truly believe that if you were drawn to being an entrepreneur, a creative entrepreneur of any kind, an artist, a photographer, if you were drawn to this, it means that that version of yourself, that higher version of yourself, let's just call it your higher self, right? That fulfilled and abundant version of yourself already exists. It already exists on another plane, in another timeline. And the only reason you had the thought that you could do it is because that version of yourself has already done it. So we need to energetically match to that. And that's what we're going to talk about today. If you're having any of these, money issues, these blocks, these cash flow blocks, whatever you want to call it, it can show up in a lot of ways, right? Increased procrastination is one of them. And this is something I hear from you guys all the time is, you just can't get anything done. Self-doubt, this hyper hustling mode of like, oh, I just have to do more, I have to do more. Leaning all into strategy. And you guys know I love me some strategy, but leaning all into strategy and not into this work that we're going to talk about today. Maybe putting in longer hours, thinking that you have to clock in more clients instead of raising your prices. Comparison game, which is strong with a lot of you. And I get it because, if you are in procrastination mode and you're kind of getting stuck in this cycle, then you're probably spending more time on social media, but you're not posting, you're consuming. And so that's just leading to all this comparison game, anxiety, and, judging your own process, judging yourself, and cracking the whip on yourself. All of that just generally keeps you stuck at that level that, your unconscious mind thinks that you need to stay at, right? This is your nervous system doing its job. It's keeping you safe and alive. And so we need to hack it. And so many of you guys reach out to me and say, I would really love to jump into your coaching. I know that I need to do this, but I don't have the money. Or, I'm afraid that if I do it, I won't be able to, make that money back. I totally get that. But I am going to tell you something. If you could have done it by yourself, you would have already done it by now, right? If you already had the answers and you could have done it, you would have. So if you are stuck, if you are in this place of like not showing up, procrastinating, complaining about not having money, stuck in the fear-based cycle, you absolutely have the power to change that. But it is going to take some action, and it's going to take you being really brave. But let's go over these 5 things that I think are going to help get you there so that it doesn't feel quite so scary. So this first step, number 1, is owning it. Honestly, you need to acknowledge it in order to move through it. Okay. Running from it and ignoring it, trying to sweep it under the rug, like knowing you have to raise your prices or knowing you're not profitable, knowing that you have all of this fear-based stuff coming up, and running away from it is not going to do anything positive whatsoever. It's only going to make it worse. It's going to make it bigger. It's going to give it more power. You need to take responsibility for your part in it as well. Okay. I'm not talking about, being hard on yourself and cracking the whip and doing all of that self-sabotage stuff. I'm talking about getting very clear about your part in why you are where you are. Okay. Maybe there's a lot of credit card debt. Maybe, you, like we were talking about before, you haven't raised your prices as you should have over the years. If you're selling product, especially, and you haven't raised your product prices, for instance, in the last couple of years, you absolutely have to, because you have to take into account, just simple inflation. So whatever your responsibility for your part in it, go ahead and just look at it, right? Don't run from it. Try and get to a place of neutrality. That is the goal with all of this. When you are so like charged with emotion, whether it's good emotion or bad, it's really hard for you to look at something in a neutral way. I want you to rise above it. And I mean, literally. So one of the things that I do and I teach and I'm certified in is called timeline therapy. And that is a really, really great exercise in rising above yourself, your timeline, and looking at your life in these moments of trauma and charged emotion from that 30,000-foot view. Okay. So I want you to do this little exercise. You don't have to do it right now, but I want you to take some time to do this at some point in the next couple of days. Just sit. You don't have to super meditate. You don't have to go into deep hypnosis, but I want you to close your eyes and I want you to breathe and focus on your breath. And if you have to listen to a guided thing to get you there, that's fine. I've got some stuff on Calibrate, which is my private podcast. Whatever you need to do, just breathe. You really don't need anything else, but I want you to focus on your breath for, let's say, maybe 2 minutes. Okay. And do that box breathing where you breathe in for 4, you hold it for 4, you breathe out for 4, you hold it for 4. And you can increase that count if you want to 8 or whatever you like, and do that for a few cycles. Okay. And in your mind's eye, as your eyes are closed, I want you to float up out of your body and watch yourself as you do so. So you're floating up above yourself. You're looking down at yourself, whether you're seated or laying down, whatever room in the house it is, or maybe you're outside in nature or whatever. Look at yourself as you rise above yourself, float up a little bit higher, about a mile, and then about 10 miles. And then you're getting up into the stratosphere, and allow yourself to go as high as you possibly would like to go. But the idea is that you can still see yourself, but you're very, 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 very tiny. You're a speck of dust, basically. Okay. And so float to your future self, float to a place in the future that you would love to embody. Maybe that is, the kind of business that you have. Maybe it's a monetary gain, a goal that you have set for yourself, and allow yourself to float to this part of yourself, this part of your future self where you've accomplished it already, and then kind of float back down to you're just sort of hovering above yourself. And just take notice in all of the different things that you do, the actions, the habits, and everything that you do on the daily to support that level of abundance and that level of financial, success, whatever that looks like for you. What does that version of yourself do on the daily? And just look, just observe. Just observe. There's nothing judging, again, it is about becoming this neutral observer. Okay. And then allow yourself to stay there for as long as you like, and then float on back down to reality. That's a really short, condensed version of what, we would do in like a one-on-one session together. But it really can help you at least come from a place of neutrality. And another exercise you can do that you might have heard me talk about before is to try to envision yourself, this situation with money or whatever it is that you're feeling so charged about. Try and envision it as you're looking at it through a security camera in black and white, because there's no sound and it just takes some of that emotion away from it. The idea is that you want to get to a place of owning your reality, seeing it for what it is, knowing that this has got to change, and making peace with it. Saying, okay, yep, this is where we're at. I don't love this number in my bank account. And, every time I open my bank account, I feel like I'm going to throw up. I want you to get to a place where you look at your bank account and you love it. But before you get to that place, you got to get to a place of neutrality. You got to get to a place of, okay, yeah, I'm just, it is what it is, right? Because money has no charge. It has no charge. Money does not have a good or a bad energetic sequence to it. It does not vibrate good or bad. You put that on it. So it is a mirror for whatever emotion you have when you think about it. And so if you're thinking about money in a very charged emotional way, whether it's good or bad, that is exactly what's going to come back to you. But especially if you're thinking about it and it's bringing up fear and stress and your heart races and you feel like you might throw up, or if any of those things happen before you go into an ordering session with your clients or whatever, before you ask for money, that is a good indicator that, money's just going to mirror that back to you. So you want to come at all of this from a place of neutrality, of a place of, it just is. It just is. And it can be exactly what I want it to be. It can go in the direction I want it to go in. And right now, this is not ideal. And that's okay, because I'm going to take some action to get out of it. So number two is that I want you to get very, very clear on what you want. And I mean super, super clear, because you cannot get what you want if you are unclear on it. You can't go anywhere if you don't know where that is. Okay. So many of us get tied up in the how. We're not doing that right now. We're talking about the what. So I want you to journal about this, write it down, whiteboard it, tell a friend, whatever you need to do. I want you to get very, very clear on what you actually desire. And you need to allow yourself to go there with it. Okay. You're not playing small anymore. We're not doing that. Okay. Obviously, from step one, you're owning it and you're making peace with it. You are also in that place of action taking. Okay. You need to get clear on who this version of yourself is. What does she do? How much money does she make? What kind of business does she run? What kind of self-care does she do on the daily? Get really, really clear. Allow yourself to dream it up. Okay. And so many of you are going to start this process and you're going to be like, oh, I can't have that. It's going to pop up. Okay. Everything that we just were talking about, that is just your unconscious mind popping up to say, that is not safe. Okay. So to get to this place, right? To get to this, we got to do some things that are going to rewire that. We're going to get to that in step 4. But I want you to have clarity. I want you to have clarity on what this future version of yourself looks like. And too many of you don't allow yourself to do this. Or if you do, you allow yourself to do it on a very small basis. Okay, we're not thinking small. I want you to think big, and I want you to conjure up what that looks like for you. All right, so number 3, we're going to talk a little bit about strategy in this. So your beliefs are going to show up as behaviors, okay? And then once you can identify a behavior that you do, you can start to see, what's going to pull you toward what you want as opposed to what isn't, right? What is fear-based. And as far as strategy goes, I mentioned this earlier, a lot of you, your first reaction into, if you're feeling triggered about money and you're not having it or whatever, is to just work harder, to hustle more, to take on more clients, etc. Right? So you usually spend most of your time in strategy and only a little bit, if any, in the energetics of it. And I want you to reverse that. I want you to be spending at least 80 to 90%, at least for the next few weeks as you work through this, focusing more on your mindset, your energetics, the energetic strategy to building this muscle as opposed to the strategy. But all that to say, there are some things to do with respect to strategy, because we do know that when you take some action and you feel like you have some agency in your business, then it's going to sort of propel you to do more of that. You just need to be careful that you're not going down the rabbit hole of working 24/7. Okay, that's what I don't want to have happen, because that is counterproductive, because then you're staying in the masculine work, 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 work. And a really, really big part of this is that energetics, the flow, the feminine energy of receiving. Okay, so for strategy, I'm just going to touch on this a little bit because I know that a lot of you guys, and myself included, we need this. We need some, tasks to do to make us feel like we are controlling a little bit of our universe. So yes, you can check in with past clients. You can brainstorm about new ways you could be making money, right? You can get really clear about your marketing. Are you marketing? Are you actually out there doing something? Are you asking for what you want? Or are you wasting your time on social media, procrastinating, and just consuming all day? Allow the possibility that money will come to you in uncommon ways, from unordinary ways, right? Be flexible and be open to possibility. So that's the other part of the strategy. Yes, there are some things that you could do. You could go through your client list, you could definitely email, you could be create a new email funnel, you can create a new promotion, you can be doing things like this that can directly bring in some money if you really need actual money right now in your business and cash flow. However, The thing that most of you guys do is get stuck in it and you forget about all of this other stuff that we're talking about, the energetics of it. So I just wanted to touch on the strategy because yes, there are some things you can do and you should be taking some action, but I don't want you going down the rabbit hole of masculine energy and staying in there because that's not what's going to bring it all to you. Okay. So number 4 is what is going to bring it to you. Number 4 is habits. And I touched on this a little bit before about how to get clarity, you really need to be in the right framework, the right state of mind, the right state in general. Okay. You have to be the person that you want to become right now. So having clarity on who that is extremely important, right? Because you can't get to where you're going to go if you don't know what that looks like. But then once you have clarity on who that is, then you can be that version of yourself right now. Daily work. Okay, this is what I'm talking about. You need to strengthen that muscle. Get in some gratitude like right away. Gratitude, gratitude, gratitude constantly. It is a gateway into all of this other stuff. If you're feeling super stressed about money, one of the things that I love to do is I love to just give something away immediately. So if I'm feeling extremely stressed or I'm having a triggering moment or whatever is coming up, I will send somebody $5 on Venmo and say, go get a coffee on me. Like I will give away an Audible book. I will do something where, it's not going to put a financial strain on me, but I'm immediately putting myself in that state of generosity, giving, right? It shifts your energy. It raises your frequency. We know this. So those are just really quick and easy things you can do to sort of kind of get into that, be in gratitude, give something away. Also, get in your body, right? Everybody knows that getting into your physical body, moving your body will help you move this energy through your body so much faster and easier, and it will raise your frequency as well. Go for a walk, right? Jump on a reformer, like a little mini trampoline. You don't have to make this super complicated. Just do some movement. Get it integrated into your body. The unconscious mind also does not know what is real or not, right? So you've heard me talk about this before, I know. You get to create it. You get to create what's real or not. That's why getting clarity on the what and allowing yourself to really go there with this like really big idea and really big vision is so important because you are creating it. You are telling your unconscious mind, I have had that experience already. Like we have the gift of being able to reminisce. And so we can reminisce about something that we've already done. And it doesn't necessarily mean that we've created it in this actual reality plane yet, but you created it in your mind. You're delusional. You got to be a little delusional, okay, to get to the place where you want. And you can then reminisce about it and say, oh, I'm so grateful that I already have a 6-figure business. I'm so grateful that I'm making $3,000 a client. I'm so happy that I changed my prices and now I bring in consistent $10,000 months. Whatever it is, you have the ability to reminisce about it and you get to create it. Okay. And like I just said, it does require some delusion because if you are like most of us tend to be surrounded by people, whether we're married to them or not, we tend to be surrounded by people who are very stuck in reality, right? So I don't have that. I'm married to somebody just as delusional as I am. So or more so. I'm actually the realist in our relationship. So that's saying a lot. And most of you guys don't have that experience. I find that a lot of us tend to be married to people who are very real. Like a lot of us female entrepreneurs and photographers are married to men who they do have, quote unquote, regular jobs, 9-to-5ers, steady paychecks, etc. This is not their world. They're not entrepreneurs. If you're not in business for yourself, you're not going to understand this line of thinking, right? So it can feel very lonely and isolating. And that's why it is so important to surround yourself with the right people. If you don't have those people in your life, you're not married to them, they're not in your family, you need to go out and seek those people out. You need to be around like-minded creatives who are also doing crazy stuff because we are a little crazy, okay? In a good way. And You need to be around people who are going to celebrate that craziness and not allow yourself to get stuck in the, oh my God, I should fit into this square peg in a round hole. Like I should be, thinking more realistically. No, that's actually doing you way more harm. You need to be thinking bigger because that's the way your brain is wired. So these habits, these, strengthening the muscle, these look like all the things that I talk about on the daily: hypnosis, meditation, movement, journaling. How are you starting your day? Are you in control of your day? Do you have a mantra that you say to yourself every day? All of these things are incredibly, incredibly important for you to be doing ongoing daily. Okay. All of us are going to fall off the wagon, but the longer you do it and the more intentional you are about all of these things, the easier it's going to get to just put it into autopilot. And then you're going to rewire your brain. It's going to start doing it automatically because that's just how the brain works. We know, you know, it's called neuroplasticity. You can create these new synapses, but you've got to do it. You've got to be the one actually doing it. And you have to be the one in the driver's seat. You can't allow your unconscious mind to drive the car anymore. Most of us live hypnotically. Your unconscious mind literally controls 95% of what you do on the daily. That's crazy. Okay. And it's usually running you off the damn road. It's usually like you're jumping off a cliff because it is stuck in fear. It is stuck in stuff and programming that you did not, sign up for. But you can change that. And when you do change that and you are consistent about the habits daily so that the change sticks, then you can rewire it. And then it becomes not quite so hard. That is a new reality. That is the new you. That is the future you. And it does not take as long as you think. Some people are like, oh my God, I don't have years to invest in this. Oh my God, it could happen literally in days. It really can, especially when you commit to it and you really get to this next step that we're about to get to. So number 5 is the hardest step of all, and it's the most important. It is the releasing of the need for it. It's the releasing of control. It's the letting go. Literally, you guys, the key to life is letting go, letting go, letting go, letting go, letting go. And it is the thing that is the hardest because when you are stuck in a fear cycle, whether it's about money or not, you literally just are grasping. It's like you're drowning and you're just trying to get to the surface and you're just trying to like grab onto whatever you can find around you to get to the top. It is like survival mode. And when you live in survival mode for a really long time, your brain is going to be wired to stay there. And so when you try and start releasing control and releasing your need for all of, whatever it is that you desire, your brain is it's going to revolt against you. It's going to say, no, 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 we don't let go. We hold on tighter. What are you doing? We have to control everything, right? But that is actually the worst thing you can be doing. Okay? Because the tighter you hold on, right? What are you putting out in the universe? What is that energetic vibration saying to money, to anyone around you? What are you emitting? What is your resonance? What is your radio beacon saying if you are tightly gripping to everything so tight and trying to control everything? All you're doing is saying that you want more of that. That's it. You're just saying, this is all I want. And the universe is saying, okay, we're going to keep giving it to you. So when you let go and you release the need for it, what happens? Well, first of all, I know it's hard to get there. Second of all, when you do get there, expansion happens. All of a sudden, literally, everything just releases. It's like, the metaphor of the balloon popping, right? You can, blow up a balloon and you take a pin to it and you envision that in your mind and you pop it. It's a release. Whether you're popping the balloon or you're letting the air out slowly and it just flies around the room. Come up with a metaphor for yourself that resonates with you about this release. Because when you release and you let go, you open yourself to possibility of what was there all along, but you couldn't see it because you were holding on too tightly. Okay. And that's where all the magic happens in the possibility. That's when money just shows up out of nowhere from places that you had no idea. That's when a client finally pays you after 2 years and they just decide to go ahead and send you a check. And you're like, oh, okay. I totally forgot about that. I had let it go. That's when you get unexpected blessings. You get a card in the mail from somebody who just, wanted to send you a gift card because they appreciate you. There are a lot of little different things that show up for you when you release the need for it. Um, and obviously you feel better because you're not living in fight or flight anymore. You're definitely regulating that nervous system and you're flowing. Okay. That's when you're in that nice feminine flow. And men have this too, right? We all have the masculine and feminine polarities. And it's in that flow and feminine that we actually allow ourselves to receive money, to receive goodness, to receive love, whatever it is. And all your needs are met. That's when you feel like the universe is working in your favor. All of those things just line up, right? And to get to that place of releasing the need for it and the letting go, you got to do step 4. You got to do the daily work, whatever that looks like for you. You can't let yourself off the hook, okay? You got to take action. Step 1. You got to get clarity. Step 2. Put some strategy in there so that you do feel like you have a direction. And 4, you've got those habits. Okay. When all of these things line up and then you release the need for it, that's how you can call in unexpected money or expected money right now. It's the letting go and the trust that is always the hardest part, right? You can call it all kinds of different things. Some people call it faith. Okay. If you're religious, that's totally fine. Call it what you want, but you need to put that work in at the end. You've got to work toward it, get clarity on it, do the daily work to support that version of yourself, and then you need to let it fucking go. And I know you don't want to hear that, but that is exactly what you need to do. So I want you to repeat these phrases as you go about your day, as you're letting some things go. All is well. All of our needs are met. Life is working for me at all times. I am completely safe and protected. I have all the money I desire. I'm so grateful I have the business that I love. I'm so happy that I have a profitable, meaningful business filled with clients who continue to book me over and over again and talk about me all the time. And then you can ask yourself some questions as well, because it's in the questions that your unconscious mind will work to find the answers to. It's a really powerful tool you can use, especially if you're finding yourself paralyzed with fear. Just ask yourself some questions. I wonder what magical things can show up for me today. I wonder what miracles are going to show up for me today. I wonder what amazing people I'm going to meet today. How cool is my business going to look in 2 years? How many clients will I get to work with in 2024? What kind of car am I driving in 2 years? What kind of trips do I get to take next year with all the money that I'm making right now? Just allow yourself to ask yourself some cool freaking questions, because your unconscious mind will rise up to answer them. And when you've done all of this other work and you've trained it to not go to the negative Nancy side, it's going to step in with some optimism. I heard of a study just recently too that I think is fascinating that says that some people are just born with more optimism than others. And only about 25% of people are born with it genetically. 75% of people are not. Because we've all seen those people who have gone through tremendous trials and tribulations and traumas in their life. And yet they show up as like these incredibly optimistic, hopeful people. And you're like, how are you doing that? Well, a lot of it is probably because they were born with this genetic sequence, right? But it also, I think, has a lot to do with how well they can shift their mindset, how well they can step in and intercept those negative thoughts, how well they have honed their skills in forming these habits. Because it really comes down to these habits and these behaviors that you do all the time. And I believe that anybody has the power to do it. And it's just some people have to just work a little bit harder than others. Okay. But if it's really important to you, you will. You have all the tools inside of you. You really do. And that was the purpose of this podcast. I just wanted to remind you, if you needed that reminder, that you don't need to go really far outside of yourself. You've got everything you need. You really do. And if you need any help with that, you know where to find me. I've got lots of resources for you, whether that is mindset related or not. I do have a really, really fun, I think it's going to be fun, new offer coming soon for you guys that is all about this and all about creating easy money. And so that's all I got for you right now on that, but stay tuned. If you guys are interested in finding out more, make sure you're signed up for my mailing list. I'll put the link in the show notes so that you can be the first to find out. I think I'm going to run it as a beta group first. So it'll be offered at a very much lower rate, a lower investment, because it'll be a beta group and it'll probably go up in price over time. So if you're interested in finding out more information about that, I will have a little link down there for you. Yeah, it's going to be fun. So I hope this served you well today. I hope this helped. I hope you walk away with some actionable tips, and I hope this fills you with some inspiration that you can then carry throughout your day. And if it did, share it with somebody so that you can inspire them. Thanks again for joining me here. I love you guys. Have an awesome week.